Today, we'll be looking at what is, in my opinion, one of the most interesting tripods I've ever had the chance of reviewing. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the Real travel tripod by Freewell. Full disclosure, Freewell did send me this unit to review. However, they don't have any control over what I say or critique about this product. So let's talk about those things that make this tripod so interesting. I'm sure you've been bombarded by heavy marketing material that this is the best tripod, or this one, or this. And this tripod sure does boast a lot of incredible and interesting features. Now, we do need to address the elephant in the room. How does this compare to what has historically been regarded as the king of travel tripods? Back when the Peak Design travel tripod came out, one of my biggest critiques was actually the price point. With its very hefty price tag nearing that range that should really reach something like a video tripod head, which are pricier due to the fluid drag mechanics, which allow the pan and tilt movements for your footage. So with that price point, you would expect some of these more professional features that could blend a bit more in the hybrid space between photography and videography. Now, despite that critique, that tripod has been my favorite and go-to tripod for pretty much all of my travel situations. It's very quick and easy to set up, extremely easy to use, and folds down to a pretty compact size. Now, that was a long time ago, and the standards for tripods have definitely shifted, which leaves more to be desired from Peak Design, and without a second generation to top itself, of course, other tripods are definitely catching up, and I actually do really like the Peak Design travel tripod. I've spent my own money on so many Peak Design products, and they really do put a lot of care into what they make. But without a second generation to continually update with the needs of today's content creators, it definitely makes competitors such as Freewell a much more attractive option because of these really interesting moves that they've made. So let's deep dive into all these different things that make this tripod such an interesting choice. So as I mentioned, my largest critique of the Peak Design tripod, you would have expected something that could cater a lot more to the videography side of things with a fluid drag head. Generally speaking, with photo tripods, you'll see a lot more ball heads, and with video tripods, you'll see fluid drag heads. And what Freewell has done here is combined both of those. So you still have the ability to pan and tilt with these very smooth movements, but they also did include a ball head, which is perfect for those situations when you're not able to get the legs to be perfectly even. You can quickly adjust the ball head to level out your shot. And now to their quick release plate, which surprisingly, there's a lot to talk about here. I love that they opted to use the Arca Swiss type plate. This is a very common type of plate, and what they've done here, which is very interesting, you'll notice that this is pretty wide for a plate. And it's also got these notches right here. And this secret feature up its sleeve is you can actually see these fold out, and now you've got a phone mount. And these notches that we talked about before actually are the same size as the Arca Swiss type that we talked about, which allow you to then insert it into the tripod like this. Very interesting, very intuitive. They really jam-packed as much as they could with a lot of features. That does not mean it's perfect, and we'll get to that later, but it's very fascinating to see inclusions like this. Some other headlighting features are the ability to unscrew the main leg, which turns into a monopod. You simply unscrew the head and reattach it to that single leg, and boom, there you go. You now have a very lightweight monopod. The main construction of the legs are made out of carbon fiber, allowing it to reach this very impressive 1.98 pounds or 0.9 kilograms. And one thing that I really enjoy, all of the legs and locking mechanics are built internally, which allow it to collapse down without any protruding clips or twisty bits, which definitely gives it a very clean aesthetic and also helps with the weight. So these things are not unique to this tripod, but it is nice to see these features included. By disconnecting the center column and rotating it, you can get these very easy overhead shots, or you can put it into the low mode by removing the center column completely, which could also help with reducing a little bit of the weight if that's something you wanted to do. And there are some things that I absolutely love regarding the attention to detail. For example, you have 3 1/4-20 mount holes, which allow you to add whatever you want, like a friction arm or something like that. The fact that they're using this available space for something is really thoughtful. Oftentimes, when you're cramming in a lot of things into a small space, at times it can often be difficult to tighten these screws because they'll collide with other parts of the tripod. And again, with that attention to detail, you can pull out these handles and readjust them, so that won't be a problem. Also included with the tripod is basically every Allen key size you could ever need. However, that could also be argued as a critique. It would be nicer to see all the sizes they used trimmed down to maybe 2 or 3 options so that you don't have to carry as many tools with you if you needed to adjust or fix something. Okay, so I've ranted and raved on the things that I love about this tripod. And while I'm very impressed with the pretty large strides forward that they've been able to make with this tripod, it's still not perfect, and I do have some critiques or cons that are definitely worth mentioning. So when we do look at other video tripod heads, let's say like this Manfrotto head for example, the dial used to adjust the fluid drag is a completely separate thing from its handle used to interface with the tripod as a whole. And again, I understand that this choice was for size, but we do run into a potential problem here. The handle is how you tighten and lock off the tilting portion. If your camera is front heavy, which almost all of them are going to be, it's very easy for front heavy loadouts to tilt forward, and you could end up with your lens smacking up against the tripod. And so what you end up with is kind of this frustrating sweet spot. Every time you want to make an adjustment, you have to loosen it, adjust, tighten it. And if you fail to do that, your lens will flop forward. So it's not a deal breaker, but it is something that you do need to watch out for. Now, a very important feature that all ball heads should have is a bubble leveler. And while this tripod did have the foresight to include a bubble leveler, the location is underneath the plate. So you can't even access or see the bubble leveler without having to completely remove the camera. Now, of course, that doesn't make the bubble leveler completely obsolete, but it does add that extra step. Really don't think it would have been that hard to find some room to put that little bubble leveler somewhere that's more visible, that can be seen with the camera on. Another small critique here. Now, the phone mount plate idea I think is very interesting and very creative. However, an issue that I foresee with this, it requires a complete removal of the plate from the camera in order to use it with your phone. Now, this tripod really did try to take advantage of all these little nooks and crannies to jam pack a lot of features. I really would have liked to see something more like the Peak Design option, where the phone mount just slips into the center column, it's there when you need it, and it's gone when you don't. It doesn't require you to completely remove this from your camera in order to use it. It's an addition, not a substitution. It also means that if you forget to have an Allen key with you, you absolutely cannot use the phone mount due to that. Included with the tripod is this little holder / mount. This just attaches to one of the legs. Here we have an Allen key that is secured with these 2 magnets. So you could argue that you would have one of these with you. And the center portion here is actually used to place an air tag. So yeah, again, really cool ideas. It's just interesting to me that this couldn't also be carbon fiber. I'm actually shocked at how heavy this feels in comparison to the rest of the tripod. It kind of feels like this was just thrown in at the end, because if you have a tripod that's so focused on being travel friendly and lightweight, then you add this bulky, somewhat heavy piece just to be able to have an Allen key and then the option of an AirTag. With how much attention to detail and planning that went into this tripod, I think I would have liked to see the integration of the Allen key. This could have easily been built into the tripod. And within the center column, they have a backpack hook, which adds some weight and stability to the tripod. When you unscrew it, it reveals a hex key, but this size only addresses the ability to get the center column on and off. And I really would have loved if this was the standard Allen key size used to get plates on and off, because more of the screws on the tripod use that size than this one. Or maybe they could have changed the size of these screws to match these. I don't know. It's choices like this that make me feel like they were so close to getting it right. And another issue that I found is that each leg locks individually. And what that means is that when you extend the leg and tighten it, you really have to make sure it's tightened all the way, because I think it could be easy to get a false positive thinking that they're all tightened correctly, because it's hard to tell when each section has actually been screwed in. So there have been times when I've set up the tripod thinking that everything was fine, and then very slowly one leg just starts sinking down. Again, not a deal breaker. You just need to really make sure that it's tightened correctly. So what are my overall thoughts about this tripod? While it's not perfect, and I definitely think that there are some things that could be improved, the fact that so much creativity and thoughtfulness has been jam-packed into this little thing, while also boasting a very impressive weight that's under 2 pounds, I do think it slots very well into that travel tripod category. Now, is it the best of the best? I'm not sure. Just like anything in photography gear, it's only helpful if you actually bring it with you, and due to its weight, I think that's a huge benefit. It does have that fluid drag head, and it does have a lot of features that are very nice. So all in all, I don't think you'd regret buying this. Now, this tripod was released this year, and I do want to put in a lot more hours with this. In the coming months, I'll update you guys with a very full and comprehensive review after I've been able to put some miles on this thing. But that's it for this video. Do not forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.